Welcome to another episode of Well That Sucked podcast and Living Proof podcast. Today is actually it's going to be a little bit more of a Living Proof podcast, just because I have a very special guest on with me right now, and I've been wanting him on the show for a minute now. But yeah, I want to start off by thanking all the veterans, because guess what? Today is Veterans Day. Woo, yay! Coming from a vet, I'm a vet. On the phone with me is a vet. Yeah, I want to thank the troops, and thanks to veterans and reservists, active duty, all that kind of stuff. All right, so starting with the show. So the person I got on the phone with me is my dad. Say hi, Dad.
Hello, happy Father's Day. Happy Veterans Day.
Yeah. Not yet. Not yet.
Wishful thinking on my part, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. Well, it's weird because it's on a Sunday. And usually, Father's Day is, on a Sunday, you know?
Yeah,
It always, seems to fall on a Sunday, which is weird. So I think I got you. I got you, Dad. Don't worry about
yeah, love it.
it. I heard that, yeah, you had a surgery, what, a month ago?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
tell me about that.
September 10th, and then I had a quadruple bypass.
Mm. Yeah, that's right. And I'm telling you right now, Dad, you look great.
Okay.
You look good.
Yep. I feel great.
Yeah.
Just like we were out at Walcott with Mom today. We walked around that lake twice, so it wasn't winded, no pills, no nothing. It was just super.
Awesome. Wow, that is great. And that Walcott, that's a park in Arkansas, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Just outside Jonesboro.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I missed that park. It was fun. So I got some questions for you, Pops. Um,
Sure.
and since it's just fitting, because it's Veterans Day, so why not have two vets talk about, or just at least interview you and what you did, because
Sure.
I'm really not that interesting. So
Ancient history.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So you signed up in the Revolutionary War, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. No, so you were back in Vietnam, but you didn't go to Vietnam.
No, I was during the Vietnam era, and I was drafted in '69 in
Okay.
the Army, and served until 1971.
Okay. Yeah. And all that time you were pretty much in. Can I say where you're at? Where you were
Yeah,
stationed? Okay.
yeah, not a problem.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. You were in
I was
Turkey.
assigned to NATO, and everybody knows we have NATO in the Asian
Yeah. Yeah.
Middle East.
Right. Yeah. So you were in Turkey, and that during that era. And what was the reason why you went to Turkey instead of Vietnam?
Okay, well, there's a couple of reasons. One, that my dad's death was, even though it was a suicide, it was listed as a military um, uh, a cause, because the issues that he had were World War II, fighting with General Chennault in China. He was flying over the hump in India, had over 100 missions, and it took its not only a physical toll, but it took a mental toll as well.
Yeah.
So in the mid 50s, he decided to take his own life, and with that happening, it gave me a supposed, because it's service related, they couldn't send me to a combat zone,
Yeah.
but I could still go into the military. My mom, she didn't want me to go in at all. She wrote letters to congressmen and senators and so on to give me a deferment, because my dad's desk was supposedly military related,
Right.
but that never came to pass.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. At least they didn't send you to where it wasn't so crazy, like crazy with fighting. Um,
Yeah,
so your dad, you said he was under what guy?
he was under General Chennault and
Okay.
flying, yeah, flying tigers in China.
Wow.
And my dad was part of the support system that flew in supplies from India, and they had to fly over a highly concentrated Japanese fortified area. Lost a great number of personnel
Hmm.
during those transport exercises, and that was something that was it took its toll mentally, losing all his friends and people he'd gone to training with.
Yeah. Um, so you were in what, southern Turkey or northern?
Actually, it was uh, when I went in. It was in Istanbul.
Yeah.
It was in northern Turkey, which is considered European Turkey,
Hmm.
and the duty station I had, the detachment was in actually southern Turkey,
Hmm.
central Turkey, just not too far from Ankara.
Hmm.
So we're kind of like halfway between Istanbul and Ankara.
Yeah. That's really cool. What'd you do for fun over there? Like did you had a lot of time off, right?
Yeah. Well, there's only 26 guys that were part of the detachment,
Hmm.
and we did rotate, weekends and stuff like that. But we'd find things to do. We had a boat that we had purchased, and we could go water skiing in Lake Saponja.
Yeah.
And there was, yeah, like we had movies would come in once a week,
Yeah.
and that was the NCO club manager. Um, so doing that, I had extra duty, but I also got paid extra for it.
Yeah.
And so bring in, the movies, but also could bring in belly dancers from, downtown
No
Izmit.
way.
We were, oh yeah, yeah.
Really?
Had them up on stage on top of the pool table.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Oh my. Was it weird?
No, it was pretty. I was kind of like the recruiter that could bring whatever was needed. I
Hmm.
could find a way of bringing the materials or the supply or the people in for the entertainment. So sometimes the movies weren't all that great, so we just bring in live entertainment. Uh, and it was amazing that a lot of the people where we were could speak English. So
Yeah.
that was a that was a big plus.
Yeah. So you told me that you it's like you went water skiing on Lake Shipanja.
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't that so? Isn't that okay? So you're basically you're not water skiing in the U.S. You're literally water skiing in a different country. Like, was that weird to you? Like, what was how did that feel? You know?
It was kind of strange at first, just because a lot of the places had security, military security guards, and so on.
Yeah.
It was like flying the first time I flew into Istanbul and had all the anti-aircraft guns stationed around the airport.
Yeah.
It's kind of looking, what I get myself into, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a choice that I made to go to Turkey simply because they offered me an early out if I went there.
Right.
It was considered a hardship tour.
Yeah. Exactly.
So rather than doing 2 years, only did 18 months.
Yeah.
And part of that being at Lake Saponja, again, it was being in a Middle Eastern situation, Muslim situation. Um, the, the women, local women, and so on. If you started talking to them, a lot of the men would circle around you, and that was something that they did not care for. They didn't like us, GIs, talking to their women. Now, if it was in that same area, you'd have tourists coming in from Europe,
Yeah.
Germany, France, England, Scandinavian countries, and talk with them. Would offer them they could go water skiing with us,
Wow.
stuff like that. Not a problem. But if it was a Turkish girl or Turkish woman, no way.
Yeah. So
No.
I wonder. I guess I could see like Americans getting defensive over American women. That makes sense. I don't see anything wrong with that.
But
But
it wasn't, but more or less of a very intimidating group of men that would circle around. You'd have probably about 15 to 20 guys, and then they'd still, more than that would still be coming in. And so you just had to watch stuff and just back off.
did you see anything happen like that?
Yeah, a couple of times when we were at the lake, we were we thought they were European,
Hmm.
and they weren't. They were Turkish girls who were just dressed to go swimming and so on.
Yeah.
We didn't think that they were Muslim, but in fact they were. And we had probably about 15, 16, 17 guys circle around where we were, telling us, choke for now, which is not good.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
so we just backed off. We didn't take them water skiing or anything. We just kind of went and did our thing.
wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
It was a whole different set of rules down there.
Yeah, yeah, that goes with pretty much every country. Some are weird, but you know, to them, our rules are weird too. Okay, I got my notes here. I kind of lost my. Did you go skiing too? Like, didn't you go up in the mountains in Turkey?
Yeah, yeah. They had a skiing resort,
Yeah.
and we were about a day and a half, 2 days overdue to get back to the base, but we got snowed in,
Oh, that's
and
right.
we had an army carry all 4-wheel drive, and it had a radio system in it,
Yeah.
and we were able to phone in, let the base know what was going on.
Yeah.
They would get a hold of the local authorities and kind of let us know that they got snow removal equipment on the way to help us evacuate some of the people that are up there.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. See, you just did everything up there.
Yeah, no, it was a good time. I had no um, bad memories of what happened there. Just it's just part of being in the army, and stuff happens.
Yeah, exactly. And you opting out of the army wasn't because you were selfish. It was because you're of your mom.
Right.
You did your time honorably, and you did it. So it's not like you were checking the easy way out. You're doing it for your mom. It's
Yeah.
clear for the listeners. Um,
Just part of the military system protocol that just because of my status, sole surviving male member of the family, I just couldn't go to a combat zone, and because of my mom's situation, I really couldn't enlist.
mhm,
So the draft was still alive and well back in those days,
mhm.
and so I just allowed myself to be drafted and went into the army that way. But I have no regrets for doing it.
Yeah, yeah. I know you don't. You're very proud of it. So like, what were some of your emotions like being overseas, like being away from home, being in somewhat kind of a combat area? I mean, you had a smidge of combat in there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
We had issues with the security that we had around our detachment that we had.
yeah. So what were like? Were you? I mean, I know you kept busy. Like you would stay busy to occupy your time. Like when you had some downtime.
Right. If I didn't have any guard duty, or if I didn't have any headquarters activity, generally I was in charge of like the mail system, so we'd make runs to the Air Force,
Yeah.
Kemerson Air Force Base, pick up our mail and whatever else the people need. They'd usually give me a list, something like that, what they need for the PX,
Yeah.
the exchange. And the other thing was being the manager of the NCO club. Okay, that occupied my time.
Yeah. Wasn't that like a? Didn't you like manage a bar too?
That was it. The NCO club. That was a bar. I just managed that,
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
and went through the inspector general's uh, inspection of the different NCO clubs that they were having issues with the black market, and we didn't have any of that where we were.
Yeah.
We weren't selling cigarettes, and we weren't selling booze to the locals.
Okay. Yeah. Did you fire off any rockets in the Black Sea?
Yeah,
Tell,
yeah.
tell me about that. That sounds pretty cool.
We'd gotten set up. Was part of a Turkish battalion,
Yeah.
and we were there as advisors.
Okay.
Okay, and we'd monitor them and assist them in setting up the rocket launcher,
Yeah.
mounting the rocket on the launcher.
Yeah.
The warheads that we mounted to the rockets were like like 500 pound, like a 500 pound smoke bomb. So you would see something,
Oh
a
yeah.
flash and then a lot of smoke.
Hmm. So why would they shoot it off in the sea though?
Just because it was a safe area. Your thing, you could block, you could cordon that off.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be destroying anybody's property because with so like the equivalent of like 500 pounds of TNT, that has quite an area that it would impact.
Yeah.
So you just didn't want to, not, have any villagers or anybody straying into your area.
Right.
Even we did have a Russian trawler come in pretty close to where our range was.
Really.
Oh yeah,
What,
but we didn't. There was no. Let's put it this way: there was no incident.
so nothing happened.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
no, no. He just strayed in. It came close, but
that's crazy.
he was just someplace where he wasn't supposed to be.
It sounds like the Russians. But
I think they were trying to monitor what we were doing.
yeah. So, yeah. Another question with that too is like, so with those nukes, were they the nukes that? Because like you're shooting a nuke into water, and it's not like land. It's not like you're hitting. Were you practicing like trying to shoot at boats or like?
No, this is strictly target practice, but target practice under a safe area
Okay.
and trying to ascertain the range of the rockets
Yeah.
and the proficiency of the Turk battalion to how fast it takes them to set up and fire the rocket, how effective they are with the rocket, and then also the tear down and departure. Because with a nuclear warhead, when it goes off, you only have a limited amount of time to get out of the not so much the impact area as it is radiation.
So how's
Because even though you're going to be upwind of it, the radiation still has like an eddy effect where it can come back and follow the ground back.
oh my gosh. So
The range is like 50 miles.
so did you feel any shockwave from that? Like how was the shockwave on that thing? Like did you blow your
Uh,
blow your
with
hat?
500 pound of going into the water, you didn't see it, or you'd see it, but you wouldn't feel it. And that was with a real strong pair of binoculars, and there was a helicopter in the air that was kind of filmed the whole thing.
Wow.
And but if it hit land, you definitely would feel it.
Did
'Cause
you?
we fired one off in Fort Sill,
Yeah.
out in the back country, in the desert, and we felt and heard that one go off.
I bet. No, was that a 500 pounder?
Yep,
Oh
yep.
my gosh. Yeah, that's crazy.
And you can feel when that rocket takes off from the launcher,
Hmm.
you can feel the ground shake.
Oh, I bet. Whew, man. So yeah, so that was the only place that you went to when you were in the army, and oh, that's what I was going to ask you. So there was one incident that happened there, with you had the problems with the security. You basically got into a firefight, right?
It was a firefight with some local students from Istanbul that penetrated the exterior security and got probably within 100 yards of where we stored our warheads.
Ooh. So they were students.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah,
So they're basically like protesting, but they're like in a radical way.
yeah. But they were looking to do physical damage with the explosives that they had.
Oh wow. So they knew what was in that compound.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. Oh man,
Yeah,
that's scary. That's really scary.
something was supposed to be secret, but like everything else. I mean, yeah. When you can read about it in Time magazine,
Yeah.
you know, something is definitely getting leaked out.
That's crazy. That's bananas. So can you talk about that or like what happened?
Oh, just a matter of the four insurgents.
Mm-hmm.
Three of them were killed in action, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth one was a quadriplegic,
How,
and because of the situation, because I was the NCO in charge of that particular time, and due to the fact that one of the students was a child of a political high-ranking politician.
Yeah.
Uh, they got me out of the country and went up to Germany and spent some time there. It brought me down to another detachment, so I wouldn't lose my early out status.
Ooh, man, that's crazy. So they had to move you just for security purposes.
But I had a chance. Well, and part of my schooling too was in Bremergau, Germany.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I had more training with the warheads,
Okay.
and because at Fort Sill was more or less standard artillery rocket type. Even though when I got out, when I graduated the training school in Fort Sill, when I went in, I was promoted to a PFC from a private. When I graduated that rocket class in the warhead assembly, I was a Spec 4. And when I came into the detachment down in southern Turkey, a couple of the NCOs that were there were rotating out. So at that point, they gave me, it was like an acting jack or, an E5, but without the pay. And so they sent me up to school to Bremergau again. And again, that was nuclear, biological, and chemical warheads
Okay.
and how to sequence the reaction that was needed within the warhead so that you get the designed results that you wanted.
Okay. Man, that sounds.
And that was about a week. That was about a week and a half, and then from there, another guy and myself, we took off on leave and went to Paris and went to Amsterdam, and just kind of made a nuisance of ourselves and checked out the scenery.
Yeah, I bet. I bet you did.
The beer was wonderful.
Yeah, no, I bet. Did you see the Eiffel Tower and all that stuff like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then in Amsterdam, Canal Street, you had to hit Canal Street, the red light district. So
Oh no. Oh, that was probably weird. Weird.
hey, I wasn't married, no ties. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, right. It's true. Um, so like when you got back from deployment, like I know that that when the Vietnam soldiers came back, a lot of people like rejected the army, like the GIs, because they didn't believe of what they were doing over there. Did you get any flack from that? Did you?
it didn't matter if you were a GI, you got it. I mean, it was just if you were in Vietnam, it was probably even more difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
Um, but being in like the European theater and so on, coming back, I still had the brushes with the protesters and just people that could tell you're a GI, or like when I just first got out, had cropped off hair and just stuff, and just kind of you have that military presence.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, so you just get sworn at and called different names and spit on and all stuff. So
Did you get any of that?
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Get a few bruised knuckles.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, that's crazy. Like they basically just like you probably didn't wear a whole lot of like your uniform when you came back. Only like homecoming. You probably put it away.
From the time I left Fort Dix when I got out and took the bus from Albany, New York, into Troy. Um, that was about the only time I wore my uniform.
Yeah, yeah. I don't blame you.
Because even when I was overseas, I've, after about 3 months of being over there, we were told not to wear our dog tags or couldn't wear our uniforms, not even our utilities. So I would just go in civilian clothes.
Oh, that's nice. Wish I could have done that on my deployment.
Yeah,
Couldn't wear jack and shit.
that was quite a different area. I mean, it was just things were getting kind of dicey, if you will, just because of some of the protesting that was going on with American GIs being in Turkey and being in the Middle East.
Yeah.
About the same time that they blew up the Pan Am Flight 001.
Oh yeah,
Out in the-
that's right. That's right. That's crazy, man. Man, what else was I gonna ask you? Yeah. So, last question. Last question, and we'll wrap this up. Um, so what's so when you got out of the army, you did you go to the VA to sign up for anything, any kind of benefits? Or
No, I didn't.
no?
No.
So I was going to ask you. So what's the difference between what's the difference now with the VA back then and the VA now?
And the VA back then was really didn't have a. I don't want to say they didn't care about the guys getting out, but they just didn't have um,
Capabilities.
the wherewithal to deal with it. They didn't have the knowledge of the changes that body goes through, a person goes through. Being in the military, just even if you don't see combat or you don't see anything that is, say, strenuous or could be like devastating, but there's still that transition that you go through, and it starts at basic training when you tear you down, and then through advanced individual training,
Yeah.
where you train what they want you to do and how they want you to do it.
Yeah.
And it's just one of these yes sir, move on and just do your job.
Yeah. That
Um,
can affect anybody. You know, like
yeah,
that mental state, just being in basic training.
yeah. So with that and coming back, you have that mental change, as well as you're physically in good shape.
Right.
And but I think as far as the VA goes, they just didn't have the wherewithal and possibly even the personnel of the right attitude to set up these VA hospitals and clinics and so on. But in the past few years, they've come up with vets where you can have a doctor of your choice, provided they can't provide it within a certain period of time.
Yeah, I heard about that, and I think that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's how I got this. The heart operation was here in Jonesboro versus being up in Poplar Bluff in Missouri. That's where the big VA hospital is.
Right. Right.
Because they only had one heart doctor there, and they just told me that whoever I want to go to down in Jonesboro, they'll approve it. So everything that I've been going through with this heart issues, I just call the VA, or the doctor calls the VA. They approve it, goes to the insurance company. They send a letter out, and we're good.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy though. Like, I wish back then, like when your dad was in the military and he got out, and the VA what it is today. Like
Yeah,
how much more they have to offer to soldiers, and how much they can help them. And trust me, I know, because I'm going through some stuff right now. But I think that generally would have saved your dad.
yeah. Well, that he used to go with he used to go to Togus in Maine was the VA medical center,
Yeah.
and he went there about once a month. But they really didn't have a handle on the PTSD or anything like that. It was talking to a counselor, if you will, but it was just it wasn't like it is today, where they try to get a handle on the level of the issues that you're dealing with.
Right.
And I know a couple of times I went with my dad, and just seeing the walking wounded was scary. I mean, it was just seeing guys going around in wheelchairs, no legs, and it was just terrible.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And for a young kid, like 7, 8 years old, and seeing that, it was rough.
Yeah.
And that's why my dad only took me like a couple of times, because he saw what my reaction was to it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Uh, But even though he could go, they give him some medicine. But I mean, it just wasn't. It just was back then. It's just not what it is today, and we're so much better off today than they were back then.
Exactly. Yep. Absolutely. Well, hey, Dad, it was good talking to you. I'm glad that you can come on the show and get an interview from me. Appreciate your time and your stories. I mean, man, it's good talking to you and listening to your stories. I love always drinking a beer with you and sharing some old war stories. Like
Oh yeah,
like our own little VFW. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
All right, Dad. I love you, and we'll talk soon. All right.
Okay, love you too, son.
Love you, Dad.
Yep, and thank everybody at their service.
Yep, absolutely. Love you.
Yep, love you too.
Bye.
Bye bye.
All right, guys. So that concludes another episode of Well Let's Talk Podcast / Living Proof Podcast. Dude, I'm telling you right now, my dad probably has some more crazy stories than that when he told me, because he's told me some stuff off the air, that's pretty crazy. But he had a very very interesting experience in Turkey, which I was just really fascinated by, and I wanted to hear a little bit more and to share with you guys about this, about his stories. All right, guys. So that's it. If you like what you hear, you can go ahead and subscribe, please. That would be tremendous. You can also like the video, which would be pretty cool too. You can also watch the video. Oh no, wait, no, it's not going to be a video. That's funny. Okay, anyways, so yeah, that's it, guys. Be good and.